Newstalk 1280 KIT. It is the morning news on your Wednesday, 10th day of March. Glad to have you aboard. And at 7:46 this morning, we welcome to the show Yakima County Sheriff Bob Udell. Bob, good morning. Richard,
good
grab
morning,
that microphone.
David. Richard, how you guys doing today?
Good. Drag that microphone a little bit closer there, Bob. We are
right there. How's that?
We're on it. It's like they call it eating the mic. You're on. You're not on?
Now I am.
Oh, sorry. Maybe that was a intentional Freudian slip.
Yeah, you did it on purpose, and you gave me the mic that people can't hear. So
I think we like that. I like the way this sounds. Anyway, Bob, welcome. We might need you to referee. Whenever Richard comes in, we always have a great time, but there's always a little tension, and we may need law enforcement. Good thing to have you on the scene.
Well, I see you got a little piece of plexiglass between you.
Yeah, not much to stop me from coming over there. I'll tell you that right now. So here we are, living in the best state in the country, and law enforcement and crime issues are. What did you say? 19th overall in our nation,
in that
state,
category,
in the category in the nation.
Crime and correction.
Yeah, and of course, correction plays a big part of that. So as you assess, other than I think a lot of places we got so many miles to handle in your jurisdiction, and we've got limited resources in terms of tools and things that you need from a law enforcer to really say, okay, Yakima County is going to be the best protected, best enforced, and best educated county in the state. What more do we need, equipment-wise, manpower-wise, resources-wise? I know we're kind of putting you on the spot with this, but as a quick assessment, how do you? Because your job is always to do what you can with what you got, right?
Yeah,
how do I make
absolutely.
this? How do I make this go far enough?
Right.
But what if you got to, sit back and say, look, this is what I would like to be able to do for the citizens of Yakima County.
It's funny you should ask that, because we talk about that almost every day at the office. Yeah. What do we need to really be more effective? Where we sit right now, Yakima County is the second biggest in the state as far as size. We're the seventh biggest in the population, but unfortunately, some of our violent crime is the highest in the state. Last year, we had 22 homicides in unincorporated Yakima County. That's a homicide rate of about 20 per 100,000. The national average is somewhere around 6. What makes that even more dramatic, of course, is that it's unincorporated. It's not a city. When you think of high crime rates, you think of Chicago, right?
Right,
Downtown,
certainly.
big cities. But we're having just too much of that. Part of that is the size. The sheriff's office we're small. We traditionally kind of rank in the bottom 3 of all sheriff's offices in the state in deputies per 1,000. That makes it a little tougher because it's a larger county as well. Right there. That makes it we get behind the 8 ball. But we do a pretty good job. And we understand we have worked with those kind of resources for a long time. Would I like more? Absolutely. The city of Yakima could use more. But that's not just the answer to making this a perfect place to live. Obviously, we could arrest more people. We could keep crime tamped down better if I had more resources. But to really make it better in this county, to get those homicide rates down, it's going to take everybody. It's going to take an overall approach from everybody who lives here. I have said this lots of times. You're never going to arrest your way out of an issue. Oh. And I don't want to live someplace where every time you look around there's a cop. That's no way to live. So instead, it's going to take this community really looking inward. What are our issues, and how are we going to deal at them with them from a large perspective? I've talked with the prosecutor about this, possibly having a committee of some sort to really identify what our issues are. Not just anecdotally and having a bunch of cops saying it's a bloodbath out there, but really getting together and people saying, what are our issues? And then part 2 is, how are we going to solve them? And then there's going to be 2 ways to solve those. Number 1, if we get no more money, because we are resource limited.
Sure.
I don't know if I'd like to be a commissioner in this county, because there's really, really tight resources, and there's a lot of people asking for money. So what can we do without more money? How do we become more effective? And if we do get more revenue, where should it go? Because if all of a sudden I had 10 more deputies, I'm going to arrest a lot more people. And then they're going to go to the jail, and they're going to need more people to take care of those people. Yeah. The prosecutor's it's just a downstream effect. So any sort of reform to the justice system is going to have to be
system-wide.
System-wide.
Right.
Absolutely. There's a lot of more tools. We have a lot of good tools, and I got to tell you, for a small sheriff's office, we're getting the process of buying some cool drones to help find people, search and rescue, and suspects, that sort of thing. We have a couple older armored vehicles that we got for free. We only have to pay for the transport costs. But some of those tools are in dire straits right now over in Olympia. There's a lot of bills that want to cut the effectiveness of law enforcement, and we're kind of sitting on pins and needles waiting to see where that goes. For instance, one of the bills wants to take away our MRAP, the armored vehicle, and that is like the world's coolest four-door SUV, and we don't shoot out of it. It doesn't have guns on it, but it's a great way to bring your own protection, right, to a gunfight, people needing help. And there are those right now in the state says, it's a bad look for cops. They don't need them. Now, on our side, we're thinking, well, it's kind of nice to have something between us and bullets.
Mr. Representative, can we borrow your car for this run then? If we can't use ours, can we use your car? That's an excellent point. This whole idea of we don't want the police to look too militarized. It's a bad look. If we're talking about fighting crime, give me the baddest look you can muster. Quite frankly, I mean, that's where I'm coming from. You want to have black helicopters? I'll help you paint them. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. We want to make an impact on the bad guys, and I think people would see that more as if you're not involved in crime, what's your beef, right? It's a reassuring presence, not a threat.
It can be, and obviously, we're more successful the closer we are to the community. So we don't want to look like we're a bunch of badasses, with heavy armor and unapproachable. And we don't. I don't think the deputies or the police officers in the city do, not at all. But there's times when we do need that equipment. And, hey, these guys, the cops have families. They want to go home just as much as anybody else. And I think it's pretty unfair for people to say, no, they don't need those tools. They don't need that kind of armor. They don't need that. No, they'll just do the job without it. That's not good. Because there are bad people in everybody's community. Yeah. That's just the bottom line. I mean, I was a detective for years, and the vast majority of people that I met doing that job were people who just made mistakes. For various reasons, they made a mistake. And I could find something like in almost everybody. But there are a few that I have met in my career that are not nice people. I don't know why you pointed him.
Yeah, why you pointed me.
And it's those people's where we need that equipment.
Absolutely.
And that's why we train. And the whole idea is to keep ourselves safe, the people all around the community safe, and even the suspects safe.
Yes.
That's the big part. We train all the time to make sure that the arrest is safe for everybody.
Good point.
I just have a question about the 22 homicides. And I certainly get trying to do things more efficiently, getting by with less, being better at what you do with less resources. Great. But how would that have prevented the 22 homicides? When I'm thinking of those 22 homicides, I'm thinking about disagreements between individuals. What in the world could you have done as sheriff or as an officer to stop a disagreement between two individuals?
You're absolutely right. There are some times we have a homicide and nothing in the world is going to stop that.
Sure.
Something happened. These are people that had a disagreement, and it was out of the blue, and it happened. But the majority of homicides involve drugs and gangs. Now, can we have an impact on drugs and gangs? Absolutely we can.
There you go.
That's where we need to focus.
That's what I was going to ask you before Richard so rudely interrupted me. About
it's the only way I can.
That's right. Rudely is your style. No, but of the 22 homicides, if you divide them into categories or themes or somehow that connects them, domestic violence is going to be one aspect, I suppose, and then drugs and gangs and who knows what the other categories might be. In terms of targeting, yes, if the more pressure we have on gangs and narcotics and all of that, then you might think that you should.
That's where we're going to get the impact.
Yeah.
Absolutely. DV crimes and homicides out. There's education. There's programs that they can always be improved upon. But when it comes to drugs and gangs, that's where you have to have direct pressure. And the Yakima County, unfortunately, has been a conduit for drugs for a long time.
Yeah.
Drugs come up through here, and they go to the west side of the state. They go as far as the Dakotas to the east. It's been happening for a long, long time. Other drug units all over the state, they end up here because they follow their targets here. This is where it happens. A lot of stuff. And we've got some new stuff coming in. I mean, I could talk all day about some of this stuff. The fentanyl that's happening and the overdose deaths. Last year we had 70-some overdose deaths. In December, or correction, in January, we had 12. That's doubling the average of what was happening in 2020. And it's going to get worse. And every drug dealer we're arresting has fentanyl pills on him. That is just what they have.
Is that prevalent, huh?
Yeah. They might be specializing in heroin or meth or marijuana, but they've got bags of those pills.
Crazy.
Nasty stuff. And you don't know what you're taking when you get those things. So drugs is a big deal. It takes a lot of coordination to go after drugs. And we do have great partnerships with the DEA, other agencies, and that sort of thing. There's lots of business out there for us because ultimately that's the only way we're going to get some of these things tamped down is by working well with others. Some of those homicides happened on the tribal reservation. We work really well with the Yakima Tribal Police and the FBI. They handled 7, God bless them, of those homicides on the reservation. The FBI is getting better at violent crime here locally. That's not their gig. They don't get trained in Quantico to be homicide detectives. But when you come to Yakima, they learn.
That's the environment that you're in. One of our callers asked if Yakima County is hiring any Seattle officers, those that have become disgruntled over there. Do you get overtures from Seattle police officers saying, look, the politics makes my job too difficult. I want to come to some place where we could focus just on doing our jobs and not have to worry about it.
They are coming to the east side. We have not hired anybody yet. I believe Yakima Police Department might have. I heard yesterday that Kennewick has hired 6. So they're spreading out through the state. Yesterday, my PIO told me that he saw a press release or maybe a direct speech by Chief Diaz of the Seattle Police Department. He said he's down 150 officers. He's pulling officers from everywhere to try to fill those holes on the street. And he's made a plea to the city council that he needs help or that department's going to implode. And that's what happens when you don't support the people who protect you. And I will go to my retirement or grave, whichever comes first.
Let's go with retirement.
It's always retirement. The people that staff in law enforcement are generally very good people. I love the people I work with, but we're human, right? Like everywhere else. Sometimes we'll make mistakes, but you got to be careful about the kind of limitations and stuff you put on us, because once you reduce an officer's safety, naturally he or she is going to start pulling back. And if they start pulling back,
we're the ones left out exposed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
People are going to pay the price.